Hi, everybody. So one of the things that we are exploring this week is a CSET paragraph. This article is about the basic introduction to what a CSET paragraph is. So be sure to check that out if you haven't read it yet, as well as looking at the samples of what a CSET paragraph looks like, so you have a good idea of how this system works. You can see that CSET is an acronym that stands for Claim, Setup, Evidence, Tie-in. And this is a formula that you can use to create strong evidence-based paragraphs. So what I'm going to show you in this video is an example of how I would use the CSET formula to create a strong body paragraph based on the graphic organizer you completed. So I'm going to do a little variation on CSET because I've got two pieces of evidence, but I'll show you what I mean. So I have a rough version of a section of the planner, just so you can see. I put it in here. I found these articles on SERS, so they I found them quickly, so don't dig too far into them. I just pulled up a couple samples and used them, so I didn't really vet them as well as y'all have with the crap test, but I did find a couple articles. I just selected the topic universal basic income. And one of the things that I noticed that the articles had, that the topics that they touched on, were that both authors discuss universal basic income proposals as potentially supplanting welfare programs. So they're a replacement for welfare programs in both of the articles that were mentioned. They both discuss this idea. So what I'm including here is a piece of evidence from the first article. I only include one piece of evidence, but you're more than welcome to incorporate as many pieces of evidence as you like, because you may have multiples in your article. Your article may mention multiple times or multiple quotes, multiple pieces of evidence here about this particular subject that you're covering. But in my case, I just picked two. So there's one. There's the other. And then I had a couple ideas for the tie-in that I'm actually going to use as my conclusion in the CSET paragraph. And so you can see what I've done is I have put them over here. I've taken all of those pieces. And the first one is my claim. The first sentence that I have here, so the first point that I made from the planner, this idea right here next to the question argument point 1, that's my claim. I wrote it in a complete sentence, and so now I have a claim ready to go. So that's going to be my claim. Now I need to do the setup. The setup is a really important part because it allows you to introduce your quotation and also to avoid something that you may have noticed me mentioning in your feedback, which is dumping entire sentences into a paragraph. You don't want to do that. You want to work the quotations into the text of your paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide a little setup, a little background, and then I'm going to ease this quote into my paragraph. And you can see that I'm kind of editing in my head as I go. And I'm going to put the publication in italics because that's good practice. And you can see what I'm about to do. I gave one sentence giving a little bit of background because I felt like this needed some context. And now I'm including my quote. So instead of just dumping in a whole sentence, I backed it up and I incorporated it into the flow of my paragraph. That's my setup. Okay, and up here, this is an important point. I'm going to use the acronym UBI because it's frequently used in my sources, but the first time I mention it, I'm going to make sure that I include the acronym for it. Okay. One sentence of background, and now I'm going to go straight into my quote. She claims some of the problems, and then I go right into my quote, period after the quote. And now I'm going to go into my tie-in. And I took my points, and they weren't super elegant, so I'm going to clean. Good grief.
Show UBI as a replacement for welfare system.
Okay.
In both cases, it's an either slash or situation, not a fixed welfare.
Ube. Okay, so didn't mean to do that. You can tell I normally use this computer with the mouse, but that was fun. Okay, so both show UBI as a replacement for they didn't. So I'm going to fancy it up a little bit and say both articles show UBI as a replacement for the welfare system. And I know this is a little bit boring to watch, but hopefully watching it will show you that just by following CSET, I've created a paragraph that has pieces of evidence, that has tie-in, and it's largely working from sentences and ideas I've already created. So this would be like the third paragraph of the body of my paper. CSET is not for introductions. It is not for conclusions. It's for the body paragraphs of your paper, but you can follow this formula and you can see that I started with a claim. So I'll just go ahead and color code these so you can see how they match up with CSET. And then I have a setup sentence, including a transition into the quote. Then I have the actual piece of evidence. And the evidence doesn't have to be a quote, it can be a paraphrase as well. And you can see that the really nice thing about this is that after you have the claim portion, you can repeat the setup and evidence as many times as you need, and then use the tie-in to conclude and really make a nice concluding sentence. Sometimes we call the tie-in the concluding sentence. This is my evidence. And then last but not least, the tie-in. So kind of wild colors happening here. But you can see that the sentences that I have here, the yellow sentence, the two blue sentences, and most of the purple sentences, I already had those in my planner. I just converted them into a strong evidence-based paragraph that's organized and has a clear setup and has proper citation using the CSET model. So I hope that this helped. I'll include this example if you want to look at it. You are more than welcome to. I'll include this in the announcement, but this is how I would use CSET to convert my planner into a paragraph.